Buying a car, new or used, is often a disenchanting shopping experience. Common complaints revolve around paperwork, haggling, and not knowing if you are getting a good deal. Now, many buyers are moving online. Some surveys suggest that the vast majority of car shoppers are doing at least some research on the internet before purchasing a car, and more are moving beyond that into contacting dealers, securing financing, and even purchasing the car itself. A new crop of online services promises price transparency, short transactions, easy financing, vehicle delivery, and even the ability to return cars if it doesn't work out.
The traditional dealership model or the traditional peer-to-peer sales where a consumer might be selling or buying a car from a stranger is fraught with friction and a process that was, just begging to be disrupted.
Some of these online-only vehicle vendors are growing quickly, but selling cars online is remarkably complex. And some research from the industry suggests many consumers still want to visit a dealership.
It's finding this balance between making sure that we can grow as quickly as demand is growing, but make sure that while we do that, we continually deliver to customers the experiences that got us here in the first place and generated all that growth.
But customers have shown they are willing to buy many things online, and tens of millions of new and used car sales take place every year. There is a lot of room to run. Consumers were not at all thrilled at the idea of a trip to the dealership, even before the COVID-19 pandemic. Less than 1% of people enjoy the dealership experience. Customers specifically have a lot of gripes about the paperwork, waiting, and haggling over prices. It is an intimidating process, one that many dread and fear. In 2014, industry research firm Edmunds found that only 20% of those surveyed liked the car buying process. Other data show that people don't trust car dealers and feel underprepared for negotiating.
The biggest pain point when we asked those 25% customers who were happy and the 75 who had concerns said it's the element of price negotiation. So the fact that kind of pricing is inconsistent and it depends on my personal ability to negotiate.
The only reason most shoppers go to a dealership is to see the car in person or test drive it. Consulting firm McKinsey had some interesting findings in a 2020 report. About 70% of the people surveyed said the main reason to go to a dealership is to see and touch the car. Fewer than half of consumers surveyed were confident a dealership salesperson could give them all the information they needed about a car. 72% do not feel the need to go through the financing process in person, and 55% said they would prefer to sign for the car and pay for it digitally. Many car buyers increasingly say they are not interested in shopping the way consumers have in the past. Of the consumers surveyed by McKinsey, about 50% of them said they are prepared to buy a car on the internet. About 40% of them said they liked the idea of a no-haggle price, where a price is set for a vehicle and no negotiating is involved. Easy one-click buying has proven irresistible. E-commerce behemoth Amazon notably started out selling books and other small, inexpensive items that didn't need careful inspection by shoppers before purchase. About 2 decades ago, e-commerce had barely penetrated the furniture and appliance industries, but over the years, consumers easily transitioned from the online purchase of small items such as books to bulky, big-ticket goods, including consumer durables like technology-rich appliances. It is only a matter of time before online car purchases become just as common. Will Clark is one of these shoppers. Co-founder of a startup that streams live events online, Clark said he shops for just about everything on the internet.
Online shopping has been a part of my life the whole time. So it's actually kind of weird that the car industry, to me, has been so slow to sort of embrace that.
He and his wife decided to replace their SUV with a minivan in 2017, but both felt they were too busy to visit a dealership. He also has had some bad experiences with dealerships. The inventory shown on dealership websites often doesn't reflect what is actually in stock.
And then the other thing that I am very frustrated with dealerships about is what I call the dance of the finance manager. You talk to a salesperson and they don't want to ever give you the price that they're willing to sell you the car at. They want to negotiate some sort of monthly payment that you can afford and then get you into the most car that they can for that amount, which is not how I want to shop. And it's not really how I make financial decisions.
Clark and his wife researched their vehicle entirely online, relying on websites and reviews. He knew what he wanted, down to the trim level and all of the options, and had already secured his financing through his local credit union. He has bought several cars in his lifetime already, new and used. The car buying process does not serve the customer very well, he says.
Imagine you were buying a washing machine at Home Depot, and instead of just saying, hey, do you have a Home Depot credit card? They're like, can we get you into the washing machine, that you want to pay the monthly charge on? And then they tried to sell you like a different washing machine because they could finance one brand over the other more, or something like that. Nobody would ever go to Home Depot again if that was how you bought an appliance there.
In addition, internet retail businesses have made shopping especially fast and convenient, with features like one-click buying and home delivery. Clark said he didn't really need to look at the vehicle in person.
Honestly, I don't know the point of the test drive. Like, it's a brand new car. It's a Honda. I expect it to last for like 200,000 miles. I don't think there's going to be anything wrong the day that they bring it to us. And if there is, in Oregon, there's a 7-day limit law. They have to fix it. And this program, allows you to return the car within 7 days anyway.
The shift to online might be a secular one. Sales made up less than 1% of all used car sales in 2020. JP Morgan has estimated about 12% of all used car transactions will be online by 2030. The coronavirus pandemic has been supercharging the shift. From mid-May to early September 2020, more than a third of Americans surveyed by McKinsey said they would prefer shopping for a car via a website or mobile app, rather than visit a dealership or even do business over the phone. Exclusively online retailers have proliferated in recent years and include publicly traded companies such as Carvana and Vroom. Both names have seen a lot of success in a short amount of time. In just 8 years, Carvana became one of the youngest companies to be admitted to the Fortune 500. Industry publication Automotive News ranks used car dealers every year in terms of volume. Carvana entered the list at number 8 in 2018. By 2019, it was number 4, and a year later, number 2, behind used car behemoth CarMax and ahead of 2 of the country's largest dealership groups, AutoNation and the Penske Automotive Group. Notably, Carvana is the only exclusively online used car vendor in the top 10. Rival Vroom was number 14 in 2020. It debuted on the NASDAQ exchange on June 9, 2020, and shares more than doubled on its first day of trading. Carvana's argument is that bad dealership experiences are a structural problem. The used car market is extremely fragmented, the cost of doing business is high, and there is not much to differentiate one dealer from another. So, the argument goes, used car dealers can only make money by squeezing customers. This is what produces the hours-long buying process and discussions many consumers find so stressful.
It's time, it's effort, it's discomfort, it's uncertainty about whether or not they're getting a good deal. And that, to me, I reduce to, there's a stomachache afterwards. And I think the goal is, how do you build something that lets the customer get the new car and doesn't generate a stomachache?
Carvana, Vroom, and similar businesses forego the storefronts and automate as much of the process as possible. Everything is self-service and available from anywhere 24 hours a day. Customers can search inventory, filter for certain attributes, and inspect vehicles virtually. Vroom shows an extensive list of pictures, while Carvana has a more deeply interactive viewing tool that bears some resemblance to those seen on manufacturer websites. Customers can rotate and zoom in on images of the vehicle's exterior and interior. Vroom and Carvana say their model allows them to keep a far larger inventory.
Dealerships have 100 cars or 200 cars on their lot, where I think Vroom at the end of our second quarter had nearly 14,000 cars in inventory on our website listed.
Both companies also advertise transparent pricing and haggle-free sales, hoping to attract those customers eager to avoid negotiations. Garcia also said Carvana's cars will also likely be about $1,000 less than what customers would pay at a dealership. Shoppers can also use phones to upload needed documents and sign contracts online.
The experience is very simple. A customer can go through and they're in control the whole time. If they want to, get a warranty, they click a button. If they don't want a warranty, they click that button off. If they want to trade in, same thing. 2 minutes, they get a value. They can toggle that trade-in value on or off. They can get financing in 2 minutes.
Once the purchase is finalized, a customer can either pick up the vehicle from a designated location or have it delivered. Exclusively online sellers like Carvana and Vroom don't have to make the same investments as conventional dealerships. The online self-service process allows these companies to reduce labor costs. They don't need conveniently located storefronts. But they have had to make other large investments, such as in reconditioning centers where they prepare vehicles for sales. Carvana also has large buildings it calls vending machines, where buyers can pick up their vehicles if they choose, slide a large coin into the slot, and the vehicle is fetched from among the stacks. These investments require Carvana spend more money than the dealer up front to build out infrastructure, but the heavily automated process leaves it with lower variable costs.
This last quarter, we crossed over the point where those lower variable costs finally caught up, and we had our first profitable quarter, which is a really cool thing to have done, because it has taken a lot of time and a lot of effort by a lot of people to build this simple experience and to build that fixed cost structure that was necessary to deliver it.
Carvana executives have noted that 97% of used car transactions already involve some kind of online research. Investors and analysts take this as a sign that companies such as Carvana have a lot more room to grow. Vroom held a follow-on offering in September 2020 after its IPO and then raised another $550 million in debt in June 2021.
Where are those investments going? They're going into the customer experience, whether it's upper funnel in our e-commerce model or in our sales and sales operations flow, whether it's in our reconditioning or reconditioning facilities so that we can make sure that every car is exactly as we want it to be.
Vroom has been investing in its own trucking fleet to carry cars around the country. But there have been some setbacks for each company. Carvana has been banned from selling cars in the Raleigh, North Carolina area until January 2022 after the State Department of Motor Vehicles said the company was failing to deliver titles for sold cars to the DMV, was selling vehicles without a state inspection, and issuing out-of-state temporary tags to a customer. Garcia told CNBC that the company is working with DMVs around the country to prevent similar situations in the future.
Sometimes along the way there's little bumps in the road, but we're not concerned about where that's going.
The Better Business Bureau said in 2021 it had received 1,900 complaints about Vroom and gave the company an F rating as of early October.
The only thing I'd say is, look, we want every customer, like any business, to be completely satisfied. And anytime any customer has to wait for any kind of documentation or payment or pickup or delivery of their car, that's simply not good enough. And so we've committed an entire business to making sure that every single customer is satisfied, and we won't rest until we get there.
Cars are big, expensive purchases. In the second quarter of 2021, the average price of a used car in the U.S. topped $25,000 for the first time. Around the same time, the average transaction price for a new vehicle topped $42,000. Given this, a lot of consumers might still want to check out the vehicle in person before signing off. 71% of American shoppers in a Deloitte consumer survey said they would still want to buy their next vehicle in person. Another 12% said they would prefer a partially virtual experience, and 17% said they would go fully virtual. McKinsey found in a similar survey that around 60 to 80% of shoppers, depending on the consumer demographic, still see the test drive and physical interaction as an essential piece of the process.
Car buying still has a very strong physical component similar to real estate, and it's the second largest purchase for most people. And so the test drive or the physical interaction actually continues to play a really critical role in the buying process.
The pandemic did force dealers and automakers to bring some of the dealership experience to the buyer, such as through at-home test drives. For example, the Cadillac brand began offering 24-hour trials for its cars. New cars have more drastic depreciation rate drops than used ones, so companies selling a used vehicle can allow a customer to hold on to it without worrying that the transaction will crater the vehicle's value. That makes it easier for Carvana and Vroom to offer 7-day return policies. There may be other obstacles to digital automotive sales in the new car market. For one thing, laws protecting dealers prevent automakers from selling directly to shoppers. So online new car sales are going to have to involve dealers, notwithstanding certain exceptions such as Tesla, who has no dealer network to protect. Another challenge might simply be the potential for competition among various digital car shopping businesses.
It's not that there's necessarily a category killer that we've seen in other areas where there's one dominant player or one dominant source of information emerging, but most customers navigate anywhere from 5 all the way up to 25 different information sources to learn about the product.
That includes manufacturer websites, classified and listing sites, enthusiast publications and portals, and financial websites. Entirely digital vehicle businesses also face the challenge of whether and how to serve the customer once the vehicle is purchased.
Once you own a car, you have to maintain it, you might want to recondition it, you might want to repair it, you want to sell it. I think the digital players are doing a great job at a seamless initial sale and more at a reacquisition of the vehicle at kind of the end of ownership, also partially to establish and refill their own inventory. In the middle part, the customer is still left to their own devices.
That also creates an opportunity for traditional dealers who can leverage physical assets and service businesses to reclaim some ground as customers move online. The one thing traditional dealers probably cannot do is simply continue as they have, with 4-hour sales, long sits in the finance and insurance office, and a stressful negotiating process.
We think that groups who can kind of establish themselves as haggle-free, easy transactions, seamless, they will be able to kind of gain market share together with the digital players, and kind of companies who choose to not kind of accommodate where the customer sentiment is moving will likely lose share.
Indeed, the better word for the car selling model of the future might be omni-channel, partially online and partially in person. The most effective retailer might be the one who is able to meet the customer wherever the customer is.